Welcome back to the WCS America Challenger League qualifiers. We're here casting this live from New York. A lot of great players we've seen so far, and a lot of more great players to go. Before we jump into our next match, though, let's take a look at how the tournament has evolved so far.
So taking a look at round number 2, looks like Hyun has gone on into round 3, and that is enough. You just have to get to round 3 to qualify.
Or you have to win round 3.
Exactly, win
yeah.
round 3 to qualify. So it's going to be Hyun versus Puck in that round 3 qualifier right there. And I'm gonna have to say that's going to be a pretty good match there because Puck has been on fire, taking out Desro as well.
Definitely.
That PvP. He's been PvPing all day until now.
So Hyun's going to be a much different beast, a very strong Zerg. We'll see if he can take him on. We'll try to catch that match in a bit. But we're going to see the winner of Jaedong and Nony is going to go up against Hwansin. Over here in the next section of the bracket, Max had the great Chinese player. He took out QXC. He's up against Balls, and I feel like Max is probably the favorite there as well. He's such a good player.
And yet another PvP. We have so many PvPs coming out here today. Mia versus Mooskills. Mooskills goes on, and that actually is a little bit unexpected by me.
It is.
But wow, pretty well played there. It was a CVC, so that that is a little bit difficult for sometimes it'll be a little bit of a coin toss there. But I'm going to say that Mooskills probably was doing really well.
Definitely. Mooskills, of course, one of the top players in the Americas. He's got a lot of cool builds as well. He used to do some like Baleen drops against Protoss. Very creative player, and against a top Korean like Mia, maybe that's really what you need to do.
Now, DeMuslim has been practicing his TVC in the last game of Qualifier versus DeMuslim, and DeMuslim did win, so he's now going to go off against Mooskills, so he's going to be a little bit warmed up to the TVZ matchup, whereas Mooskills has not. He's actually played PVZ and then ZVZ, so he's going to be playing all the 3 in the matchups today.
That's right. Going on to the third section of the bracket, we're going to see, I think this is the one with several of the top Chinese players in here. I think we're going to see Top. We'll see how far he's advanced. We can see he's actually in round 3 playing against Jim. Jim is, a lot of people say, the best player from China. He's almost always in a top 20 in GM in Korea. He's all-killed Team EG, and he actually knocked out Com of the qualification tournament to get into this tournament. So Jim is the reason Com's not here. And then people talk about Com. Jim already knocked him out. Maybe he'll knock out Top as well. Kind of rising amidst his fellow Chinese players there.
Can't stop Jin there. Zenio versus JYP. Still don't have the results from that one. That's another one of those very evenly matched games that is definitely going to be, one of those things that you're going to have to watch no matter what. And these brackets are just completely filling up, and we're just waiting for Jaedong to join into this match. And once we get that, we'll get underway here. But yeah, I mean, Handless for center. That's going to be another really good one.
It is. Tilly versus Drunken Boy is going to be nice. We see, both American talents there. Tilly, one of the top female players, extremely good, I believe.
All right. So once again, you have to win round 3, and then you're into the qualifiers. There is no round 4. So hopefully we'll see some really good players come out here from round 3. I mean, already starting off at round 1, we had a lot of really good players. But now we're going on into round 2. We had, even more, selecting the good players out of there, and all the buys, of course. And then round 3 is just going to be a whole bunch of match of Titans, and those will then qualify into the America's Challenger bracket.
That's right. The way it works is there's 16 players qualifying from this tournament. 8 from the winner's bracket, 8 from the loser's bracket. Of course, once we near the end of the close of the winner's bracket, we'll jump in and check out some loser bracket action as well. A lot of great room for players to do well here. 16 spots, but you know what? There's 50 amazing players in this tournament. 34 of them are going to have to come home disappointed.
And that's just the one thing about brackets. Every single time you start playing in a bracket, at least 50% of the people after round number 1 are going to go home disappointed, unless there's pies. But I don't feel like doing the math right now. We already passed the root squared match, and then past that, it's 50%, 50%, 50%, and that's a really depressing statistic I figured out after one of the local tournaments. You go to a local tournament, you're so excited, and then round 1 you get taken out by a pro, or something like that. In my case, it was poke money.
Yeah.
In my first battle ever in any type of tournament was Poke Bunny.
Knocks you out in the first round. I think Jaedong says he just needs one more second to get ready here, although that usually doesn't mean exactly a second in pro gamer terms. The first map's going to be Belshire Vestige, Nony versus Jaedong. Looks like actually the players are ready, so I think we can get this one started. Let's double check, make sure Nony. Yep, they're both ready.
Both players are ready to go, so let's get this game started. Jaedong versus Nony.
This is going to be a really exciting match. I mean, Nony, he took a break from Team Liquid to say, I want to focus on my gameplay. I think I can do that best just on my own. Getting back to my roots, remembering how much I loved to play these games back when I was a Brood War pro. And I think I was watching him play in the Premier League qualifier earlier, just 2 weeks ago, and he was looking very, very sharp.
You know, sometimes you just need to take that time to yourself and really practice on, maybe completely destruct how you play the game just so you can build it back up again, but this time better in some type of way. And, it's possible that Nony needed to do that before he got into, the next, at least Heart of the Swarm type leagues. So spawning up here at the top left-hand corner, our blue Protoss player, it is Nony. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner, the evil, the despisable Zerg player, it is Jaedong.
Of course, from Team Evil Geniuses, known as the Tyrant, because he just absolutely destroys anyone who stands in his path. Jaedong, one of the most famous players from Brood War. This guy's won, I believe, 3 MSL tournaments, like 2 OSLs. These are the premier leagues that were on the major TV stations in Korea. I mean, this guy is so famous. He's won so much money in Brood War. Starcraft 2, he hasn't had quite the same success, although he did make a pretty nice run at the last IEM tournament.
And you know what's really actually pretty funny is that Jaedong's rival, basically in Starcraft Brood War, was Flash.
Yeah.
And Flash has been doing really well. Jaedong's been doing really well. And it's also great that we see yet another Brood War, although Foreigner champion, Nony coming in here as well. Nony was yet another Starcraft Brood War player. I believe it was TSL 2.
2 or
2.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, it was 2.
3.
3 was Starcraft 2.
Okay, I was off by
So
number.
2, he came in and did really well. I believe White Raw won that one eventually, but I believe it was the finals of White Raw versus Nony. And that was just, these kinds of, it's really funny to see all these StarCraft Brood War players still coming into StarCraft 2, still doing really well. Some of them, more than others, cough Flash, but Jaedong still incredibly impressive opponent.
Definitely. Not an opponent you want to go up against. Someone that, especially with Nony's background in Brood War, Jaedong was top, he was one of the best. He's a legend from Brood War, and so to play against this guy, there's that reputation, and it's got to be intimidating to a certain degree.
Oh, incredibly. So, speaking of intimidation, it looks like Nony so far is staying a little bit one-base centric. He's going for his one-gas expand after getting his Cyber Core out. And we could see this turn into a number of different builds. We've seen the Soul Train build. It's somewhat similar to this, Mothership Core coming on out. And that's going to allow him to gain a little bit of map control in order to, actually get into his expansion. And of course, by having the Mothership Core out even earlier, you can start building up a lot of units, a lot of sentries, and possibly turn this into a Zealot aggression where you have the ability to recall.
A very interesting gateway expand for Nony. Of course, he's one of the guys who actually never forge expands. Even in Wings of Liberty, he pretty much never ever forge expanded. And he's doing it a little bit differently than we've seen Nano in the past. We've seen him do these gateway expansions, and he gets the Nexus a little bit faster. Nony, you're getting 2 Zealots out first, so he wants to put on some pressure.
And here comes that pressure. He's got the Mothership Core as well. And once again, as soon as that Mothership Core gets 100 energy, he can just recall immediately. So what this can really actually do for Jaedong is Jaedong's going to possibly be forced to pop out a whole bunch of either Spine Crawlers or Zergling. And every single Zergling that comes out here, or at least every 2, is one less drone that Jaedong's going to have in this very beginning econ period.
That's the idea. And he's, Nony's seen his Zerglings. He's going to back up. Of course, he's produced another Zealot to protect his expansion and Ponance at the front there from the Zerglings of Jaedong. And it's always a question everyone asks. Okay, making the Zerg make 8 Zerglings, does that slow them more than you delaying the Nexus to get the Zealots out first? And Nony says, you know what, I think it is worth it. I want to get out there and get in their face and scare them a bit. But those Zerglings are now sweeping around the right side. His forces are still on the left watchtower. He better complete that wall fast, because right now he only has a single sentry to defend.
And at least that sentry will have the ability to throw down a force field, and if not, then of course there's also going to be the ability for the recall. The Zergling instantly turning around, and the sentry is going to be able to have to force out one force field here, which is going to force Nony to run all of his forces back here. Here comes that mothership core now. And, oh, that pylon's actually going pretty low. There is another sentry right there, but the force field on the left is going to fade. And it looks like he's going to be able to get in and take out one of the sentries. Now going to be able to get on right onto the main base.
Oh, just perfect. Oh. That was so close. If those Zerglings got into main, he would have been in such a tough spot. But as it is, that wall coming in just the right time to keep those guys out of the main. And
he's actually able to clean up the Zerglings fast enough that he can actually just cancel that pylon instead of having to worry about killing it. There we go. I was worried for a second there, because I think there was only a second there left on that pylon to build, and that would have been 100 minerals he didn't want to have to spend and then kill.
So a little bit of an awkward start for Nony, but you know, in the end of that, he didn't really take too much damage, and Jaedong actually made another significant group of speedlings.
Wait a minute, did Jaedong not see? He didn't see the pylon.
Oh, just barely missed it.
He had a whole bunch of Zergling just kind of hanging out there, but it looks like he just barely missed that pylon. And a whole bunch of Zergling over here going to engage all these Zealots as they move out, take out the sentries, which is pretty huge.
It is.
That's going to deny so many force fields.
Oh, now Jaedong sees what's happening. On the left side, he sees more pylons going up, more Zealots coming in, abandons his plans to take a third base, and he doesn't have his upgrades yet. So the Zerglings and Zealots can be roughly cost even against each other, except that there's a lot more Zealots than there are Zerglings, cost for cost.
But the Zealots are a little bit slow here. They're going to have to take a little bit longer time, and actually using the Spine Crawlers as a huge choke point here to actually get a really good engagement on these Zergling, and actually Jaedong's taking a lot of losses here that he doesn't really need to. Now all the Zergling are going to be able to surround everything, but the Mothership Core doing a lot of damage. This Queen's doing a lot of damage on the Zealots, though.
Those 3 Queens, so instrumental in providing that range support. Mothership Core goes down. The Zealots...
recall.
Oh, the Zealots get surrounded.
This is it for these Zealots. They will fight bravely until their death, but do they make this cost-efficient Axlev? That's the question here. So many Zergling coming out here, but look at the worker count. It's 41 to 39. I would say it's pretty worth it. It's giving the map control back over to the Zerg, though.
It has. But there's still that pile. Oh, he's probably going to get a cancel on this third hatchery. Jaedong, his Overlord, should see this. But he's not. He
doesn't want to admit it. He doesn't want to admit that's happening. He's actually just going to go straight on into the natural, try and get on into the natural. Pylon's going down here, and it looks like he's going to be able to just barely fend this off. A lot of Zergling coming in here. They do have force fields available, but he's trying not to spend that energy right now. He's trying so hard not to spend that energy. DT's coming in as well, and actually going to be able to get right on in here.
The hatchery wasn't even canceled. It just totally died. Jaedong is being caught totally off guard here. His speeding counter is thwarted. DT's are going to do significant damage here. Jaedong's really struggling against, Nony's kind of creative, just mass Zealot, Pylon, DT aggression.
And it looks like he's going to try and do as much damage as possible for these Spore Crawlers. I was wondering if he's going to go for the Spore Crawler or not, and it looks like not. He's just going to try and kill as many things as possible. He has killed 11 workers so far, so that's actually a pretty large lead here, forcing out a lot of Spore Crawlers as well. As long as he doesn't turn into any type of Stargate play, those Spore Crawlers are now just a whole bunch of drones and minerals that are just going to go down the drain.
It looks like Nony's going to follow this up with a mass charge or Archon timing, and that's a perfect response to the speeding play that Jaedong's showing. Yes, Jaedong's going to have the significant upgrade advantage, but with the Archon splash and the Zealots in front to tank for the Archon, it's going to be a very difficult composition for Jaedong to deal with unless he can scout it and either switch into roaches or build an appropriate amount of spine crawlers.
And I've been seeing Jaedong do a lot of ZVP lately, and every single time he goes for such a very, very Zergling-heavy type of composition. I'm not exactly sure what these Zergling are doing here right now. They're just kind of hanging out in this corner. They're all kind of trying to see who can get more into the corner. But with this huge amount of Zergling, you're completely right. This type of push coming out here from Nony is actually going to be able to do so much damage. And that's what's really going to be scary here.
Overseer scouts it all.
But it is a bit all-in-ish. If he doesn't do enough damage here, he's going to be kind of stuck. He's not going to go for a third base anytime soon.
Oh, no, he's not. Because he's too far behind in upgrades to really be able to continue this game. If Jaedong can get to the Ultra stage, it's pretty much over. But he's going to try to attack before that. Jaedong is going to try to defend with just speedlings, and it's going to be very tense because he doesn't quite have 2-2 yet, and with only the upgrade advantage of 1-1, I think the Archon Zealot is going to trade very favorably against this pure Speedlings.
So he's got another 70 seconds before the 2-2 upgrade's going to finish.
Oh, Speedling counterattack though. Warping in Zealots to defend. Can they hold the wall?
Oh, looks like a whole bunch of
not.
Speedlings are going to be able to filter on through these Zealots. They're trying to do as much damage as possible, but it looks like all the probes have to be pulled now, and they're actually just going to go straight on into this main base. But here comes the push here from Nony down here at the bottom. All the Archons have come in here. The engagement's starting to begin, and the Archon is actually getting surrounded here. So one Archon is already down, but the charge lots are doing so much work. The rest of the Archons are just kind of hanging out in the back. They're able to clean up all the Zerglings that are trying to go for that flank, and the Zealots are getting actually cleaned up pretty well by all of these Queens. It's whether or not they can meet up with these Archons and be able to hold this off. Meanwhile, back at the main base here for Nony, he's lost everything. He's given up on it. He's just got to win with this push, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. 32 more Zergling on the way. Is Nony going to GG soon enough, or is he going to keep trying to get this going? He's got one more Archon.
With 2-2 upgrades, those Speedies are just way too cost efficient. There's no way this push can continue to work as he's losing so much of his economy back at home. Can't continue to reinforce it the numbers he wants. And Jaedong just continues to rally more and more and more Zerglings into this. But Jaedong hasn't been ejecting. He's running low on Larva.
And as long as he can outlast these wings, maybe something can happen. But that Archon is actually completely down in shields. He has one little health left. Just one little tap from any Zergling. Just any Zergling will completely deconstruct that Archon. I don't know exactly what happens when an Archon dies, but that's what happened when a Zergling hits it.
Starting to regenerate those shields now. The extra damage in the back can be of immense value. Is Jaedong going to focus that Archon down?
Pretty good positioning here, keeping her Archon in the back. It's actually still alive, still doing a lot of damage. There it goes, finally goes down. One Archon still left. There's still a lot of Zealots, though. The Zergling actually having a little bit of difficulty dealing with all of these Zealots and taking out all the Spine Crawlers before they're able to finish up.
Is Nony going to do it? The Zerglings never went to the natural to destroy that economy. He can still warp in additional Zealot reinforcements, and that might be all he needs.
And he looks like he's going to be able to take out so many drones here with the splash damage from the Archon. No, just barely gets up the ledge and is out of the fog of war for Nony. And again, these Zealots are just chewing through everything. Now here comes the Spine Crawler Forest, but is it going to be able to get down? The Zealots already started on it.
Such a smart move to go straight for that Spine Crawler Forest, bypassing the hatches in a natural, realizing he has to end the game now because he's taking so much damage on the home front.
And it looks like those Spine Crawlers are going to go down. One does finally finish up, but it's so hurt. The Zealots try to do as much damage as possible. And there's the mining going on in the natural, so as long as Nony can actually take out all the drones here, he's going to win. The Archon now in a great position. It's got a long reach. It doesn't have to get into melee range with everything. And it's still doing damage. The Zealot's still pouring in. Going to be able to take out that last Queen as well.
Oh, I think Jaedong's out of resources. He has 1,300 gas, but no minerals. There's still 2 Archons left. Jaedong is totally out of units.
And Jaedong is in so much trouble. Oh my god, Nony just out of nowhere. I doubted for a second. Shun the non-believer. I doubted for a second, and Nony is getting into such a great position. Here come those Archons, the Zealots, once again, but here comes all the rest of the Zergling, I believe, from the actual main base of the Protoss. But with those 2 Archons there, and actually baiting all the Zealots, the Zergling onto the Zealots, actually was able to get Nony into a favorable position. And now he's just free reign on the rest of the drones. Nony takes it 1-0 over Jaedong.
What a great play by Nony there. I mean, that time attack is so strong against Speedlings. You know, Jaedong scouted it, but he didn't really react. And that's really what it came down to. You know, perhaps he hasn't seen that exact timing before. Perhaps he thought he could defend it without building a significant number of Spine Crawlers. But as is, the timing was true, and it was just way too much for Jaedong to deal with.
Such beautiful positioning too, keeping the Archons in the back, putting the very strong ones in the front. That's exactly what you need to do when you're in these types of situations, is make every single unit count. I mean, I said it before a couple games ago. It's Starcraft. You have to make every unit count, and the longer you can leave that Archon alive, even though it's got no shields left, the more damage it can do, especially with that splash damage, especially against those Zergling. That's exactly what you need to eventually take victory.
Beautiful game by Nony there. We'll see if he can repeat the performance. Game 2 coming up after a short break.